Finally, we got our first glimpse of what this year's potential super team could look like. Practice begins for Mick Cronin's Bruins.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxheimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for your support. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And where we get started today, the UCLA Bruins men's basketball team has finally begun practicing officially, right? That was the big story. They had the open practice. There was video. Mick Cronin talked. You could talk to some of the players. It was fun to finally see this team in action purposefully, not just those summer workouts where they kind of practice, but they don't really. This is the opportunity for the Bruins to have a spectacular season. But it's going to take some players taking a back seat. It's going to take some learning a new role. But this is a UCLA team that's going to allow Mick Cronin to unleash many weapons. He was quoted as saying in his presser yesterday, September 25th, that this UCLA team could have 6, 7, maybe 8 different leading scorers within a game, right? What does that mean? It means on any given opportunity on a night, you could have not just a starting 5, not just a bench mob. You could go close to 8 deep, close to 2 separate units of starting 5s, and that could come in and score. And then Mick Cronin also clarified that this UCLA team is going to employ a press. He's not going to do it like a press Virginia necessarily, but he does want to press, and UCLA is going to use their depth to their advantage, right? This is what was the quote, I believe, used by Cronin yesterday. If I can pull it up here, this is what Cronin said: play as hard as you can, do not conserve energy, get a rest. And the Bruins have the depth, I think, in the backcourt to play a full-court pressure defense. Now, Cronin did not commit to doing that every single game, every single minute of every game. They're not going to go press Virginia. They're not going to go the Louisvilles or the Rick Pittinos. They won't play all the way up the floor every single minute of every single game because Cronin is a defensive mastermind, and you have to be able to play one-on-one defense, play on the wing, play in the post, and the Bruins have the wing defender, the elite wing defender, who Cronin is salivating over, Kobe Johnson. And I think the video I saw in practice was him making fun of the players. That's why Kobe Johnson takes your cash, takes your candy, right? And that's not exactly what he said, but what he was insinuating in the comment, not that exact words, that's just me adding to it. He picks your pocket with lazy passes. And Cronin just loves the defense Johnson brings. You bring in the transfer of William Kyle III, and you got the post presence, the rim protector. So this team is going, in my opinion, to be a top 3 threat in the Big Ten. They will be a team, I think, that threatens not just to get out of the first weekend, I think is a strong contender to get to the third weekend of the NCAA tournament. And you know what that means? Final 4 worthy, right? That's contending with the UConns. That's contending with the rest of the Big Ten, which has been largely run by Purdue. It's been a 1 seed the last couple of years, near the cream of the crop. Other good programs in Big Ten as well. You talk about the ACC, you talk about Gonzaga. Those are the teams UCLA will be competing with, even though they're preseason 24. This is close to the team that Cronin assembled 2 years ago. 2 years ago, that won the Pac-12. You got the shooting, you got the bench, you got the defense, you have the leader, you have the quiet point guard leader who's going to play a bulk of the minutes, but a lot more depth, so he's not leaning on Jaquez and Tiger to play 35 minutes a game. Or rely on a Bona who would foul out in poor moments, right? He doesn't need to lean on his star freshman who got injured but played well in Amari Bailey. UCLA's got all those things. Not one, but I think 2 legitimate freshmen. 6 transfers, 4 newcomers, 4 returners who played significant minutes. Anybody who played may have to fight for a spot. The leading story for Mick Cronin is the fact that, hey, your team captain will not be a starter, right? Your leader, your unquestioned leader who's only been there a year at this moment, your vocal leader in the locker room, which was clear for Stefanovic all the way last year in Spain, coming from the run-in Utes, turning into a UCLA Bruin in 1 year. He was the unquestioned vocal leader, right? When they had to do social media, you see Stefanovic out there leading the charge. And he's going to take a back seat. And even Cronin's been quoted as saying, hey, if they didn't want to be here, they could have left. If they didn't want to come, you got to understand we're here to win. And that's what his formula is. He doesn't have to go spell it out. It's pretty obvious. He wants guys who are here to win. You have to be able to pay those guys. But if you got the players who are asking for money right away, saying, hey, this is what I want. I want dollar bills, yo. Well, that's probably not the guy UCLA wants, but they do understand the ballgame. Cronin understands, right? He understands, hey, I want to be at first in line if there's a pay raise, especially in the college game, because that same guy might not get paid that same amount of money for his name, image, and likeness in the NBA, even if he's talented, right? This is his chance to dominate, whoever it may be, but the Bruins aren't they're basing their recruiting solely on who wants to come based on money. Cronin has developed a culture since the 1920 season, taking over for the Steve Alford-led Bruins into a defensive mantra, right? UCLA didn't necessarily play defense under Alford. They play defense. Their toughness. They grind. And I think Cronin's maybe in his mind, he keeps reiterating it. They finish in the top half of the Pac-12. And the more I think about it, that's more times he's thinking his team was not that good last year. And how confident he is, where you're bringing 6 transfers, 8 newcomers in total who are very talented. And I'm not sure who's going to see the bench, how many different lineups you can play. There's going to be so many different combinations that UCLA can go full court. You can play against a team that shoots and just goes small, like a small mid-major that can shoot the 3, or a stretch 5 that can shoot, or a stretch 4 that can shoot. Maybe they're tall like Purdue was with a Zach Edey in recent years. They can handle that by throwing in Mata, a Devin Williams if he's ready and bulked up enough, if Mata's ready from a little bit of a foot injury in the offseason. And for all the reports, it sounds like Sebastian Mack, the toe is just fine. And apparently when it comes to players playing in LA and toe injuries, you got Clayton Kershaw, you got Sebastian Mack. For big name LA programs, franchises with some players who are dealing with toe injuries, Sebastian Mack should be healthy. And I know some of you were concerned. That's why his level of play really went downhill at the end of the year, because his toe was injured. And if they had more depth, he probably wouldn't have been playing, if not as much. And we saw that it hurt his playing time. Now he's got to earn it again. And then you got Sky Clark. Man, you can just throw so many names out. Mick Cronin forgets him. He was forgetting him. Not really forgetting him, but you got to remind me who all these guys are. You have to remind me, too, this team is going to be fantastic. And what Cronin wants is a team who can jump out of the gate. A team that can listen to a leader. Not just a leader in the assistant coaching realm and the head coaching realm. It's a leader like Lazar Stefanovic, who will not be necessarily playing a lot or as much as he's used to. A guy who is expected to take the bulk of the three-point shots, play almost every minute of every game. That's what the stage is now. I think Kobe Johnson will take that role. And if he needs a minute, then they're going to get Stefanovic in there. And I keep seeing these preseason starting lineups, and so many of them are projecting Stefanovic to start. It's not that he's not good. I just don't see him starting with what UCLA can trot out there in their most optimal starting 5. Now he might be in a closing 5. He might be in a big-time bench role that could see him play a lot of minutes, get a lot of shots. But there will be a reduction in shots for Mack, for Andrews, for Stefanovic, for Mata, maybe more for him if they know how to utilize him a little bit more. But a lot of these guys who shot the ball so much last year will not shoot it as much this year. They will not, because there are just so many shots to go around for a team that is talented. And I'm not sure there's going to be a guy that's going to be demanding shots. I don't think Cronin will let that happen. But there's got to be somebody who will take the lead in the clubhouse. That's Stefanovic. I've been pinning Dylan Andrews as that on-the-court floor general. You got the vocal leader in Stefanovic, the defensive wizard in Kobe Johnson. You've got the scoring savants coming in the portal that Cronin specifically went after and found the right connections and the right fits for UCLA. This is a team I'm very excited to watch. Very, very excited to watch. November 4th cannot get here soon enough. A little over a month away, and the Bruins, they're here to play. Speaking of playing, where is UCLA baseball going to play? I have no answers, but it's not going to be at Jackie Robinson. What happened? We'll talk about that next on Locked On UCLA. What's up, fans? Check out FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, right? Maybe you're an NFL fan, you want to get a big return. Well, go check out getting $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet on FanDuel.com. Or you're sitting here, you're looking at this UCLA line against Oregon, and it continues to grow, right? It started at like 24. I think it's at 25 and a half at this moment, one or the other. Do we think this UCLA team, especially you at home, do you think that's a little too much? At home, 8 p.m., Big Ten After Dark weirdness will strike, and the Bruins can cover, as they covered against LSU in a hot, melting Louisiana day. Or are we thinking, hey, let's hedge your bets. UCLA covers, or you want to go with the Oregon big-time spread, go to FanDuel.com. Check it out. America's #1 sports book, FanDuel. It's cool. All right, big news out of the UCLA baseball program. I think it was late September 25th. This is something of a story I think that's been developing further and earlier than this date. But the big news, even the local LA News has been talking about it. I'm reading this off a story from KTLA, but all the UCLA outlets and every local outlet has talked about it. There is a federal judge who has locked down Jackie Robinson Stadium. That went into effect at noon, September 26th. So the day we're dropping this pod. It's because UCLA, the overall university, is leasing land from VA, right? The Veterans Affairs. So they're leasing land. And what the judge is officially saying is that it is not being used as it's intended while the school is leasing it. They have a stadium, they have stands, probably parking lots. And the fact that it's on the property, several interest leases on the VA's properties where the baseball stadium stands are, is deemed illegal. All right. So now it's been very different ideas, right? So it is U.S. District Judge David O. Carter, Vietnam veteran, according to this KTLA article, who expressed frustration over UCLA and other past leaseholders for failing to provide an acceptable use for the land. So now you wonder, what's going to happen? Where is UCLA going to be able to play? There's other parts, there's other interests there. So now UCLA, they have no baseball stadium. And what's funny, I mean, I'm not sure if this is a funny situation. You got USC just across town who doesn't have a baseball stadium at the moment, right? They had to go play to Irvine at the Great Park. They had to go play at LMU. They had to go find UC Irvine. They got to play at Anteater Ballpark, Cicerone Field. So what's UCLA going to do? I think I was reading, Bro Report talking about Mick Cronin offering the basketball locker rooms because the baseball team has no locker rooms. That's big news when you got a stadium with the name Jackie Robinson Stadium and UCLA might not be able to use it. And that's a nice little stadium. And I know parking's been horrible to get there. They make it tougher and tougher to get to, JRS, Jackie Robinson Stadium. But it is a detriment that when you're bringing in West Coast teams to the Big Ten, which is probably, I'm not sure if I've seen a Big Ten schedule release for the baseball program just yet, probably why we haven't seen it. UCLA, the West Coast teams are supposed to own the baseballs and softballs of the world when you're playing in a Midwest conference, right? They talk about the footballs. UCLA should be able to handle in basketball. But baseball, right? UCLA, they've been in decline. How is John Savage going to handle all this, right? How are they going to handle this nonsense? Because you've already got one team who is leasing and finding different places to play. If you're UCLA, what do you do? Can you go make a deal with the city of Long Beach and go play at Blair Fields when the Dirtbags don't play? They got a lot of home games. Do you go, right? So there's a lot of funky things they have to deal with, and maybe there's a temporary thing you can file and make this not happen, right? There's different ways. I'm not the biggest legal expert in this situation, and I'm not sure if I can really debate about the legality of whether this is a fair use of the lands. But it is something of concern where we're trying to figure out, hey, where is this money going to go to for UCLA? Is it to fund the NIL? Is it to fund all the other sports? Is it to fund a new coach? Is it to fund the current coach, Deshaun Foster? Whatever it is, right? And then you're sitting there and the baseball stadium's getting closed. So you got to go pay a lease wherever you play and then maybe build a new baseball stadium with space I'm not sure they have anywhere. Maybe they go build the baseball stadium. Maybe they get rid of all that. Remember, they built that land in the South Bay area, right? Where the former Marymount, California campus used to be. There's more land UCLA owns over there. Maybe they can go build a South Bay stadium near the beach and make it like a Rose Bowl-esque where everybody complains that it's so far. Go play baseball by the beach. It's not convenient. It might be a terrible idea. Who knows? But it is something to keep an eye on, that the baseball team does not currently have a home, with it being locked down. That's the current situation. It's unfortunate, and I wonder what the next saga is, right? You got to pay. This is why the UC Regents are, now I'm going on a tangent here, why the UC Regents are so stupid. This is where a nice $10 million would be helpful. Instead of just throwing it up to Berkeley, why can't UCLA use that extra $10 million to fix a situation like this? All right, instead of just throwing $10 million to Berkeley. Berkeley's just doing just fine, right? The Golden Bears are fine. Why couldn't UCLA, those $10 million, now they got to find a way to build land and support their own baseball program, and not just spread the media rights deal money to a literal nether university in the flagship. Now they got to figure this situation out on top of maintaining the NIL. And now we've seen new things where you look at the USC's defensive lineman, Bear Alexander. He stepped away from USC. You got two players for UNLV, the quarterback and the running back, stepping away for NIL reasons. Very different opportunities. I'm not sure I know a lot about the running back for UNLV or the USC D lineman situation in Bear Alexander. But players are now stepping away if those deals aren't satisfied, right? What happens if that happens in basketball? UCLA on the basketball team has a player that's literally there, not on scholarship, but on a fully funded NIL deal. They have overloaded the scholarships on this year's roster. That's how they're funding this year's team until the scholarships expand on the men's side to 15. And now they got to deal with this. It's nuts. And it's immediately. That's why it's crazy. Immediate closure. It's September. This is not early February, but still, we're turning into October. That gives you a little about 4.5 months before the season starts. Like, that's when games start, right? Valentine's Day weekends in 2025. You got your practices that should start in January. You normally have your fall games. We're going to have your fall workouts, your early winter turning into spring workouts. I don't know. They've released a statement. I haven't exactly read it. UCLA has. It's unfortunate that that's how it goes. And there's difference of opinions about how to utilize the lands, but that's a big thing to look at. Another big thing to look at, speaking of leaving, UCLA's big-time men's volleyball coach, back-to-back national championship head coach John Speraw, is leaving. We'll talk about that next on Locked On UCLA. Now we're going to talk to you about Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Prize Picks, all you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Here's an idea, right? 1 Caleb Williams passing yard, right? Talking about him, gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. So it's coming to a close. Check it out. And Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in most states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. That's right. Us Californians, go check it out. Download the Prize Picks apps today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly when you play $5. The code LOCKEDONCollege altogether on Prize Picks gets you $50 instantly when you play $5. And you don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, cruising on here, Locked On UCLA. The other big news, it's been a big news week. Basketball started practice. You had more injuries, everything, right? The baseball team kicked out of their own stadium, and now you've got a UCLA men's volleyball program in need of a head coach, all right? In desperate need of a head coach because John Speraw, late into this cycle, right? This is September. The season starts like January. They're basically getting ready. He's coming off a cycle as the USA men's volleyball head coach in the Olympics in 2024. Won a medal, won a national championship. This is a guy in John Speraw who was a 2-time national championship player at UCLA, won 3 national championships as an assistant coach at UCLA, 3 national championships as a head coach at UC Irvine, and then recently just went back-to-back for his first 2 national championships at UCLA, the 20th and 21st in program history, back-to-back with a dominant team. And now he is going to be the CEO the USA Volleyball president and CEO of USA Volleyball. So think about this, right? You had some staffers. You had Coach Corrali, who's coaching the women's team. You've got the USA men's team, who was coached by Speraw. The USA Volleyball is basically already run by Bruins. Now you bring in the CEO, and this is an opportunity, right? I remember reading an article about how, I think it was Ben Bulge, where the double he was trying to do. This is a guy who was competing for national championships, then turning immediately, right after they won the national championship, saw a USA Volleyball guy, made a wink, saw a staffer, said, all right, it's time to prepare for Paris, and they go win a medal. And now in this next cycle, the U.S. is going to host. So if there's ever a time to maybe step away, you've won everything, right? To take away from the stress with the Olympics coming to Los Angeles, this is a perfect chance for John Speraw to become the president and CEO of USA Volleyball, right? This is a grand opportunity. Don't fault him. He's done great things as a Bruin. He's been responsible and a part of 7 different national championships. 7. Think about many coaches, right? Like, not many people can be responsible in very different roles for a national championship at UCLA. A third of the volleyball championships won for UCLA on the men's side, John Speraw has been a part of, whether he's been playing, assisting, or the literal head coach, taking down teams, getting to the finals, getting to the Final Four. He has been there. Yes, it's a program that's dominated the sport almost all time. They own the most championships in men's volleyball, but he's maintained that when he's taken over the role as the head coach, getting them back to glory, going back to back, right? In men's volleyball, you win one, you got to win 2 in a row. That's how the streak's been. You win one, you win 2 in a row. He maintained the streak on the men's side, right? So that's huge. Now, I just wonder where UCLA goes next. Do they try to go after? I was seeing what Eric Sonheimer was tweeting out. There's different places you could go. Maybe you go grab an assistant somewhere. Maybe you steal Long Beach's head coach, but he seems like he's happy where he is because he's a former player for Long Beach. I don't know where UCLA goes next. Probably interim head coach is the next available opportunity for now, with this being so late in the cycle, right? You already had Martin Jarmond. This is going to be another hire. He's had to hire a football coach. He's had to hire a women's volleyball coach, a women's soccer coach, and I'm forgetting the rest. There's probably more. I just can't think about it all. So he's had to hire quite a bit, and this will be the 4th one, and this is a big program that has generated a lot of championships and kept UCLA as that product that wins a lot of championships again and again and again. But you got the Olympics coming here. You do got beach volleyball, the National Collegiate Beach Volleyball Championships coming out to, I believe, Huntington Beach in this next spring. So not that really applies to John Speraw's position or the men's volleyball anyways, but just knowing that UCLA, they want to eventually catch Stanford. They don't want to be trailing them forever in a sport they've dominated indoor volleyball on the men's side while they're trying to get back up to snuff on the women's side while they head to Big Ten play. They want to make it happen. They want to make it happen, and I think they can. I just wonder who the next person in charge will be. I haven't seen anything change. It's been a couple. Martin Jarmond's probably sitting there. He's got a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do, right? Hire a new coach if there's not already a plan in place. He's got to figure out a new stadium situation. He's got to, continue to battle the NIL. How do you pay players? How do you get support for every program? That's a hard job. Our job right now. I wonder how he's looking straight and saying, man, this is tough. But that's the daily grind of being an athletic director. So I wonder where UCLA will go next in this stage of their volleyball history, which has been very great over the whole time. In the meantime, next episode, we will talk more keys to the game, predictions for UCLA, Oregon, all that and more next on the Locked On UCLA podcast. Download, like, subscribe. Thanks for your support. This is Zach signing off. So get your hands up, Bruins fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA. Fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.